it's just a nice collective understanding that way. The second group, I tried something a bit different, where usually I have a very direct line of, this is your mission in Night Owls, and now go do the mission. I gave them 2 missions and they picked one. And by making that selection, the other mission had a different outcome. And it's interesting to note where like things went a little haywire on that mission they selected, and like they were going to sneak into a camp and then they were discovered, so they just fought the whole camp. But while they were fighting the camp, they kept having these points where they could see what was maybe happening with the other choice point, and they ignored it. They kept doing the thing they were doing. So then that choice point resolved, and this thing was summoned and flew off into the night sky, and they like hid from it and went, now we got to deal with that thing. And at the end of the session, we kind of closed and talked about, by making that choice, did we make the right choice? And I was like, it's not as necessarily about, you know, this was the good choice and this was the bad choice. It was that they're both divergent paths and both have benefits and both have consequences. So by selecting this one, you came out with more allies that are going to help you in the future. And by selecting this one, you would have had to fight one of those allies. So maybe you would have had a battle there, but you wouldn't have to deal with this thing later. It would have been dealt with now. It could have been a really hard fight too. So now with allies, it might be easier, who knows? Or you would get more information, or you get more help, and it's and more story, more narrative abilities and branching points. And upon that discussion, it seemed like everybody eased up. It probably didn't help if we had a couple players absolutely exhausted, like they hadn't been sleeping, and it just really changed the dynamic from what you see on people's faces. But when you try something new like that, I think it's really important to take a moment at the end and be like, this is what I was trying to do. How did that go? And these are what these choice points mean. Just to clarify, you didn't do anything wrong, or it's just these are consequences and this is the branching path. And I think that's really healthy to do. Those of you out there that are like, oh, I want to try and give them like a choose your own adventure thing, make sure then you check in with them to if you feel like they're getting concerned about, wait, did we make the right choice? We should have done that, shouldn't we? And it's okay.
Yeah. Well, and there's, like we talked about, the right choice is based on what they want their outcome to be.
Yeah.
So you get that sometimes in a lot of open world RPGs now, where it's like you have to choose between siding with this person or this person, and then if you side with either of them, the other person dies. So the best off the cuff example I can think of is Skyrim, when you have to go to Whiterun and there's Sadia, and she Kemeratu or whatever, I can't remember his name, but he's trying to kidnap her and bring her back to Hammerfell. And she's like, I'm a runaway princess and these are assassins trying to kill me. And he's like, well, she's actually sold us out to the Aldmeri Dominion. So even though she's a princess, she betrayed us all. So, and there's no confirmation on who to believe. So It's literally just, who do you feel like siding with? And the other person either dies or gets kidnapped or whatever. So the right choice is, who do you think is right, you know? And so if as the DM at the end, you're like, you feel there was no right choice, that doesn't mean the players don't have what was a right choice for them, you know? So, and I fully agree that check-in is like it's super important. And it's one of the reasons I've decided recently I've been DMing 2 campaigns weekly, and I'm ending both of them this week because that exhaustion is making it not fun for me, you know?
Yeah.
So.
I think that was my main thing. And there were other factors in my life, but I finished Night Owls and went, I didn't have fun.
Oh.
And that was the kicker. But I think thinking on it now, I did have fun, but at the end of it all, I was so tired that I just couldn't handle it. And I didn't want to feel like I was burning out. So I canceled my things on Sunday, and I took a day to just mental health.
Well,
take some time.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I mean, it seems like we all kind of feel on the same boat there. This particular week, especially since it's been like 2 or 3 months now of just sitting at home and
running more campaigns now, I feel, but it's
Exactly, and that's how I feel too, because I mean, I was still going to school as well, so and I still am, I guess, because summer semester.
Right.
But now I've only got one class, so it opens up a little bit more time. I can start doing my Horde of the Dragon Queen campaign again. I've now that I know that I excel at when it comes to being a DM, I've switched it from you know, map minutia and having them always on the map and all that stuff like I used to have it, and now they have you know, the same thing you guys get with the nice pretty pictures and everything. So that's that makes me feel a lot better about it, because it makes me feel like the campaign isn't so you know, undoable after all. It seemed insurmountable to me at first because there's a part 2, and because of all the like complexities that are going on, and just redundancies like John was talking about when we discussed Hot DQ. Just like, let's go find the raiders. All right, let's go back. Let's go find the raiders again, and let's wait around and then go find the raiders. And it's like, oh my god, because I could, you know, you could just cut out like 3 scenes to that and just be like, go find them for the last time, and it'll be good. It's gonna be nice. They're gonna get to Waterdeep and stuff. With that, it'll be 2 weekly campaigns and 1 monthly campaign that I'm running, and then I get to play as well in some of your games, and that feels good because you know, as we always say, DMs need to play too. So
yeah, no, that I've been feeling that is more and more important as I've been DMing and as I've been playing. That if you just DM, you lose the empathy for your players. You can artificially create it for yourself, where you convince yourself you have the empathy for your players, but you don't get it until you actually practice it. You don't understand how bad legendary resistances feel until you as a player say, I try to cast Disintegrate, and then the DM says, I use a legendary resistance, and you're like, oh.
It's a real kick in the face. So now like, so as a final thought here, like what we're really talking about is creative burnout. After taking that day to just like relax and recharge, I have many more ideas about how to make, especially the closing of Night Owls with the big, probably god fight that we're probably going to have, how that would actually work without legendary resistances, but with a dynamic 3-act structure, and how to make that truly awesome. Like it really needs to be something that feels like an ending. And more than just, it's really difficult and it's legendary resistances suck. This is a saga of this amazing fight that's going to be so satisfying, and trying to now structure this thing stat block so that it works from a story's perspective, not just it has these things and now it doesn't. You know, it's a lot more thought that has to go into that, but now I feel a lot more energized to do that.
Thank you so much for listening to some of our podcast highlights. This podcast is part of the Darkmoor Podcast Network. If you want to support the content creators, feel free to visit our Patreon, and please, game responsibly.